The Gift of Speaking in Tongues, Chapter 3 of the Gift of Tongues, pages 19 to 23. It is assumed that no one can speak a foreign language until he has first learned it. However, in the New Testament, such an event occurred. The first written account of such a miracle is recorded by the apostles on the day of Pentecost. It is written, "And when the day of Pentecost was fully come, they were all with one accord in one place. And suddenly there came a sound from heaven as of a rushing mighty wind, and it filled all the house where they were sitting. And there appeared unto them cloven tongues like as of fire, and it sat upon each of them. And they were all filled with the Holy Ghost, and began to speak with other tongues, as the Spirit gave them utterance. And there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men, out of every nation under heaven. Now when this was noised abroad, the multitude came together, and were confounded, because that every man heard them speak in his own language. And they were all amazed and marveled, saying one to another, Behold, are not all these which speak Galileans? And how hear we every man in our own tongue, wherein we were born? Parthians, and Medes, and Elamites, and the dwellers in Mesopotamia, and in Judea, and Cappadocia, in Pontus, and Asia, Phrygia, and Pamphylia, in Egypt, and in the parts of Libya about Cyrene, and strangers of Rome, Jews and proselytes, Cretes and Arabians, we do hear them speak in our tongues the wonderful works of God. And they were all amazed, and were in doubt, saying one to another, What meaneth this? Others mocking said, These men are full of new wine. But Peter, standing up with the 11, lifted up his voice, and said unto them, Ye men of Judea, and all ye that dwell at Jerusalem, be this known unto you, and hearken to my words. For these are not drunken, as ye suppose, seeing it is but the third hour of the day. But this is that which was spoken by the prophet Joel. And it shall come to pass in the last days, saith God, I will pour out of my Spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams. And on my servants and on my handmaidens I will pour out in those days of my Spirit, and they shall prophesy." This is probably the first success story of God lifting that language barrier curse. Although only a few ever experience it, it is one of the gifts of God. It is given to some to speak with tongues, and to another is given the interpretation of tongues. And all these gifts come from God for the benefit of the children of God. Paul the Apostle had the gift of tongues and said, I thank my God, I speak with tongues more than ye all. Yet he continued to say he would rather speak 5 words with my understanding than 10,000 words in an unknown tongue. There is a great blessing that can be enjoyed by the gift of tongues, but there are many other gifts of the Spirit, too. They are all a part of the work of God, as Urson Pratt explains. We find a great many gifts besides those I have mentioned. The gift of tongues, the interpretation of tongues, the discerning of spirits, and the beholding of angels, were all given in ancient times by the Spirit, and the church possessing them was compared to the body of Christ. And the Apostle Paul, in order to show the necessity of all these gifts, when comparing them to the body of the man, says, the whole system is necessary. The eye cannot say to the hand, I have no need of you in the body, for it is absolutely necessary there. Neither can the head say to the feet, I have no need of you. No, the feet are necessary. And even the most imperfect, or simplest member of the human system could not be dispensed with without making a schism in the body. Says Paul, speaking to the church, and you are the body of Christ, and members in particular. God has set in the church, first apostles, second prophets, after that teachers, workers of miracles, speakers with tongues, interpreters of tongues. All these different ones are members of the body of Christ. Now, have we any right to say to the lowest of these members, "We have no need of you in the body"? Supposing the teacher should say to the speaker in tongues I have no need of you, now in the body, the Lord has a different kind of a body on the earth from what he had 1800 years ago, and we do not need you now. Another says to the interpreter of tongues we have persons who have studied all these languages, and we do not need a person to interpret tongues, by the Spirit, now. We can dispense with this principle from the body of Christ. Jonah Loft discourses it is essential that men look to God to overcome their own transgressions and the failings of their forefathers. By learning how to use the gifts of God, men can overcome many other failings just as they do the language problem. The gift of tongues was a miracle, and many were converted because of the great power of God which was manifest on that day of Pentecost. However, the miracle of the gift of tongues is not as important as many other gifts. Indeed, it has often proven to be a snare. The prophet Joseph Smith gives a beautiful discourse on these manifestations of the Spirit. The Lord cannot always be known by the thunder of his voice, by the display of his glory, or by the manifestation of his power. And those that are the most anxious to see these things, are the least prepared to meet them. And were the Lord to manifest his power as he did to the children of Israel, such characters would be the first to say, "Let not the Lord speak any more, lest we his people die." We would say to the brethren, seek to know God in your closets, call upon him in the fields. Follow the directions of the Book of Mormon, and pray over and for your families, your cattle, your flocks, your herds, your corn, and all things that you possess. Ask the blessing of God upon all your labors, and everything that you engage in. Be virtuous and pure. Be men of integrity and truth. Keep the commandments of God. And then you will be able more perfectly to understand the difference between right and wrong and between the things of God and the things of men. And your path will be like that of the just, which shineth brighter and brighter unto the perfect day. Be not so curious about tongues. Do not speak in tongues except there be an interpreter present. The ultimate design of tongues is to speak to foreigners, and if persons are very anxious to display their intelligence, let them speak to such in their own tongues. The gifts of God are all useful in their place, but when they are applied to that which God does not intend, they prove an injury, a snare and a curse instead of a blessing. We may some future time enter more fully into this subject, but shall let this suffice for the present. These gifts are blessings given for a specific purpose, not particularly to be a show and tell miracle to prove that it is the only place where God is working. Many men may be inspired, but will not demonstrate any show of miracles. The prophet elaborates on this doctrine, too. There is a difference between the kingdom of God and the fruits and blessings that flow from the kingdom. Because there were more miracles, gifts, visions, healings, tongues, etc., in the days of Jesus Christ and his apostles, and on the day of Pentecost, than under John's administration, it does not prove by any means that John had not the kingdom of God, any more than it would that a woman had not a milk pan, because she had not a pan of milk. For while the pan might be compared to the kingdom, the milk might be compared to the blessings of the kingdom. Chapter 4 Many Gifts of the Spirit. Many gifts of the Spirit.